Hi teachers, this is the instructional guide for primary 2 term 1 week 12. So for this week, two booklets. First one is on multiplication of table 2, and then the second one has division with it. So let's start. This is an introduction multiplication of table 2. I think for P2 they need to start understanding the concept that multiplication of 2 is actually, in a way, is keep counting in twos, right? So get them to see that this is actually 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, all right? And that 2 groups of 2 is 4, 3 groups of 2 is another group of 2, so that means 4 plus 3 equals 6. If possible, they can memorize. Perhaps you can assign this as a homework for them, right? That would help. But for P2, more important is understanding of, or rather reaffirmation, the so-called reinforcement of the understanding of multiplication in terms of groupings. Okay, now these kind of questions are where students get it wrong. So for example, they know that 5 times 2 is equals to 10. But often when the question is presented this way, and this is a blank, they may not be able to understand it. So a few ways that you can teach them. 5 times 2, right? What is it? Okay, ask them to always write the numbers on top, assuming this is a blank. And then 6 times 2 is 12, right? So 10 is how many less than 12? 10 is 2 less than 12. Okay. The other way, right, to explain to them, and you should try to explain to them as well, this is 5 groups of 2. This is 6 groups of 2, right? 5 groups is how many groups less than 6? 5 groups is 1 group less. So 1 group of 2 less is 2 less. Okay, so I think the language-wise, some may take a bit more time, but right, we try our best, right, to explain to them in that way. Then we can also use double, right? What does double means, right? 2 times 2, it's 2 plus 2 equals 4. All right, what is 3 plus 3? Double 3 equals 6. Okay, get them to do the guided practice. All right, I think this is important. All right, for practice, so do every question. Let me just circle it here. Do all the questions here. Right, question, so they understand the grouping here, right? 2 times 7. Of course, differentiate. There's a difference. I think this part is important for you to reinforce what they have learned in P1. The 7 groups of 2 and 2 groups of 7 are different. Okay. So continue. For them to do the guided practice, pay particular attention to page 7 onwards. Right? Because again, as I mentioned, this is the part that a lot of times they may get a bit confused. Many would just put 8 here, answer, right? 8, right? But no, right? They got to read this part here. Okay, so this is 2 times 8, right? And then here, of course, based on the diagram, is 3 times 2. So you got to fill it in, they got to fill it in, right? And then this 3 times 2, so that would be equals to 6. So 8 is how many more than 6? 8 is 2 more. So I presume, right, they may have a bit more problem doing this question, which is why important for them to do all the guided practice right here. Okay, so more practice here as well for them. Okay, so yeah, make sure that you're familiar with some question. Okay, and then for independent practice, I would then skip a few of this and perhaps go to questions like, let's see. Okay, let me move forward a bit. So all these are actually quite easy. I would say to have some fun here, maybe question 6. Okay, count by 2s. So this is to reaffirm A. Yeah. And then again, a few more practices if you think they are not so sure yet. 7A and B, right? The rest I think they can do as homework. So this book actually has got a lot of pages, right? A lot of it, right? So I would, again, I would focus on this kind of question, which is where they get a bit confused. Then get them complete page 26, right? The multiplication table. And in-out question, perhaps to do just demonstrate a few questions. So I would say maybe the first 4, right? What does in-out means? In, right? For example, 1 times 2 equals 2, 3 times 2 equals 6, so that they will be able to do the rest as well. Okay. Then we do a few of this kind of questions. Okay. 2 times which number equals 8, right? Few of this. Maybe A, C, D. and I'll probably assign the rest as well. Okay, now let's move on to book 2 then. Let me exit this. Okay, for book 2. So book 2 is division. So they need to understand the idea of what division means. So start off by reiterating what multiplication means first. So if you can see here, 4 jars of 2 beads in each jar will give you 8 beads. Now for division, the question is different. So here, right, there are 8 beads, and we put 8 beads, put 2 beads, sorry, equally into each jar, right? How many jars would there be? So you can do this exercise with them, right? So 8 beads, they basically need to split it or group it by 2, right? Because this is 2 beads in one jar. Group it by 2, and then they will know how many groups there are, which is how many jars there are, equals 4. Okay. Do a few more explanation with them. What about this one here? Okay, there are 8 beads, and then now you split it into 2 equal groups. You put it into 2 jars. How many beads are there in each jar, right? So 2 groups, right? They need to be able to see that, or to do this, right? To draw this, put it into 2 groups equally, and I get 4 beads per jar, right? So hence the answer is 4 beads. There are 4 beads in each jar. Okay, do a few more practice here as well. Okay, and yeah, so I think because there are only 2 booklets, do try to make full use of the learn segment and the guided practice as well. All right, take them through, and after that, right, I would get them to do a few questions on their own. Fiona, Tess, and Mary share 24 flowers, draw in the boxes the number of flowers each girl's get. Okay, so this is a good exercise for them to, it may take a while, all right, but I think that's fine for the first question. So basically they will have to draw 24, right? How can they do this? Right, they can do it equally first, right? So I would draw, oh, I tell you what, drawing flowers can be time consuming. For this question, right, allow them to draw circles. Okay, so they can draw 1 circle, 2 circle, 3 circle, 4 circle, 5 circle, 6 circle, all the way until it's 24. And then they will realize that there are 8 circles, or in this case represent 8 flowers, right, that each girl gets. Do another question here, right? So this one is about grouping, right? 18 presents into piles of 3. So of 3 means into each group will have 3, right? So they need to group 3 together and so on. So the difference will be the language, if you think about it, right? How many are there in each group, right? Or split up into 3 groups, 3 girls, and then or you group them according to piles of 3, groups of 3, right? So that's a different in terms of the language. Okay. And then let me see, divide by 2, look at each picture. Okay, so maybe do question 4, divide 10 by 2. So multiplication, right? What number times 2 equals 10, right? So yeah, 2 times 5 equals 10, so 10 divided by 2 equals 5. Okay. Let's see what else. Okay, get them to complete page 13, question 7 as well, right? To understand relationship between multiplication and division. Okay, multiplication fact family. And then perhaps a question like this here, in out, right? In out question. So maybe do the first 4, right? So they can use division to help them, right? Otherwise, can just use, because these are small numbers. So 4, how do you divide by 2, right? If they can remember that 2 times 2 equals 4, that's great. If they can't, then it'll be 4, and then group it into 2. And each group will have 2. Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay, this one I think okay, this is a puzzle. So let me see. I think this could be the last question you can. Okay, no, actually no. Let's do a few of these questions here because I foresee that they may have a problem doing this. Right. So for example, B, many would again put 2 plus 2, 4. Right, but no. Okay, so they should do it this way. 2 plus 2 equals 4. Okay, let me. The right way to teach this, right, is 2 plus 2, right? What's the total first? So this is 4. And then now they got to think about it. Which number times 2 will be equals to 4? Therefore, the answer is 2. All right, same thing with here. So they have to figure out for each of these segments. And then I would say do a few more here. O and P. Okay, this one is can be a bit challenging. All right, so 14 divided by which number equals to 253 minus 246, right? So this one, you have to trial and error, right? But since we are doing a multiplication of 2 or division of 2, right, they can just remain at that, right? Just you can give them some hint here, right? What is 14 divided by 2, right? Equals to 7. And then 253 minus which number will give you 7. Okay, and that's it for this week's materials. If there are additional test papers that you have not assigned to the P2 students yet, please do that. Okay.